8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Superscreen Television. Let your voice be heard. Join us.
You're welcome back. This is still SuperDawn. We apologize for that break in transmission. We're still in the studio with our guest, Kingsley Theophilus, a mortgage consultant, and we'll be talking about affordable prices, affordable houses in the year 2020. Welcome, sir.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, sir. Welcome to the program.
To SuperDawn.
Thank you.
And when you look at the situation of things in Nigeria, mortgage, the cost and price to get properties and houses, apartments, what do you have to say about that?
Well, let me start by saying that the concept of housing, affordable housing for all by year 2020 is a mirage. It cannot happen. It's not possible.
And why do you
it's not possible because the facilities are not on ground. The houses are not on ground. The government efforts are not sufficient. So there's nobody that can give you affordable housing. Even in the next 10 years, if we continue the way we are going, in the next 10 years, in the next 15 years, the situation will not change.
Okay, what facilities do we have to put on ground to have in the next 10 years? In short, in the next 5 years from now, what facilities do we have to have on ground before we could achieve those affordable prices for Nigeria?
Fine. First of all, for us to tackle the problem of lack of or insufficient affordable housing in Nigeria, we will have to look at what are the problems that is responsible for not having, housing for all. As we speak now, the Nigerian housing deficit is, considering our record-keeping status, is not accurate. But we are working with the figure of about 17 million housing deficit.
Yes, certainly.
If you go with 17 or 18 million housing deficit, that means that if you take an average of 4 persons per house, it means that you have about 72 million Nigerians that do not have, good shelter. Yeah. But I can assure you that that figure will be higher. Now, what are the causes of not having affordable housing in Nigeria? Number one, the greatest problem is the problem of corruption. Corruption has done so much, even in housing, just like it's doing in other sectors. I had the guest speaker that spoke a short while ago on power, also talk about corruption. In the housing sector, you also have the problem of corruption. When monies are voted for government projects, it is not delivered. That's the problem of corruption. Then you also have the problem of ignorance. The problem of ignorance. Some of the government officials are ignorant of what they are supposed to do. In fact, they don't know what they are supposed to do. The people that are supposed to benefit from these housing, programs are also ignorant. And it has been said that people perish for lack of knowledge. Then you also have the problem of lack of long-term funds. You don't have long-term funds that can now be given as credit. Of course, you have the high cost of building materials.
Definitely.
Yes.
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria. Of course, then you also have the problem of a high cost of acquisition of land, processing and the transfer of title. Apart from the high cost, it takes unduly long time by all the various state governments. Then you also have the problem of fraud. The government officials are involved.
We'll definitely come back to that fraud. But let me ask this question.
Yes.
Right now in Nigeria, especially in Lagos, we have the government is trying to build roads and facilities, sort of. And to do this, they are actually destroying people's properties, people's houses, to expand the roads sites. First things first, is the government doing well enough understanding that this is someone's shelter, this is where someone lives, this is where someone lays his head, you know, and you go ahead to bulldozer that down to construct a roadside?
Well, it is neither here nor there. Both the government and the people that constructed the houses in the first place, both of them are wrong. Let me tell you what I mean. Number one, government planlessness is part of the reason why those houses are being destroyed. If a government plans that, if a government gives a plan that, okay, this area is a new area that is developing, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, are we going to have a 4-lane road or a 6-lane road or 8-lane road? Government will not make that plan. They will allow people to build. They will give people approvals to build. And then somebody will wake up to either score a political point or in order to come up with a project that will help him to make money, or in response to a genuine economic need, we want to cite a 4-lane, 6-lane road in a certain area.
And that would definitely affect the house of the
owners of the houses.
Now, normally the government compensates. That's how it should be.
Yes.
Though we have covered a report where these citizens, these owners of houses, they decry and say we don't get anything from the government. But assuming that the government is doing its job and compensating these owners of these residents, is that enough? I mean, knowing fully well, like right now in Nigeria, to build a house, to buy the property, the building materials and all are expensive. Should the government do more than that? Like probably give them a property or a house somewhere else, as the case may be.
You and I know that in Nigeria, we don't have responsive governments. We don't have governments that cares, governments that are passionate, government that puts the interests of the people first. Most of our governments, whether the local government, state government, federal government, they put their private and pocket interests first. So they don't care. All they're interested in is awarding the contract and then doing whatever they like. Ordinarily, if there were no prior government plan to construct that road, government should pay adequate compensation, one. And if need be, go to the extent of building alternative houses for the people, relocating them, and then start the road construction. In civilized countries, that is what is being done. But we don't have that here because we don't have governments that are people-oriented. And then again, you have places where, in fairness to government, they have that plan, it's there. But people will go out of their way, bribe their way, some of them even without approval, construct this road, saying when it is time, we will move. So that's the problem.
Okay, sir, now let me ask you this question now. Nigerian population is growing.
Yes.
The National Population Commission has pegged the Nigerian population to 98 million.
Yes, even without a census. that's the country we have.
I want to ask you this question. Now, what do you think the government and the private sector should do, looking at the rural-urban migration? Lagos population is also growing fast as well, and a lot of people are also coming down to Lagos here. Now, what do you think the government and the private sectors, that's the real estate developers, can do to be able to meet this 70 million housing deficit we're having currently in the country?
Okay. You see, on this rural-urban migration, as at 1999, it was about 35%. As we speak, it's over 50%. And that is putting pressure on the cities. And why are there influx of people from the rural areas to the cities? It's in search of survival. It's in search of survival. People are looking for jobs. Where are the jobs? In the cities, if there are any jobs. So, the solution is for the government to know that this rural-urban migration problem is going to continue. It's going to get up to 70%. And then walk ahead. We need a government that is proactive. We need a government that is interested. Number one, the government should be consistent with the housing policies. Part of the problem we have in the housing sector is the inconsistency of housing policy programs. Each government that comes abandons the program started by the predecessor and comes up with its own program. It shouldn't be so. Number two, we should have the National Assembly should also contribute their quota. There's need for the foreclosure law to be put in place so that investors will be attracted in the housing sector. And then again, there is need for long-term funds. We have aviation fund. We have small scale provided by CBN. We have SME fund.
Quickly talking about funds, sorry to quote you, sir. There is the National Housing Fund. Talking about that, how can investors have access to that fund whereby we can provide adequate houses and affordable houses for Nigerians?
The National Housing Fund that is being managed by the Federal Mortgage Bank is meant to provide cheap long-term funds for housing. But after the law was promulgated, that is after the law was made, all the banks, commercial banks, merchant banks, were supposed to contribute to it. They are not contributing. Insurance companies are supposed to contribute to it. They are not contributing. Some public sector officials are not contributing. So you don't have enough funds to be lent. That is one. Then the one that is even contributed, how is it being managed?
Certainly.
And the ones that have been lent out, you'll be surprised that even the National Housing Fund loan that is given at 6%, which is the cheapest, people are not paying. The people that have collected these loans, they are living in those houses, they are working, they are earning income, and they are not paying. So you see that it's a vicious circle. The problem both from the government and the beneficiaries.
So on the quick one, sir, what's the way forward right now for the government?
For the government,
yes,
let them be consistent in their policies. Let them be consistent in their policies.
We want to thank Mr. Kingsley Theophilus, a mortgage consultant. And of course, this is still SuperDawn. Up next is SuperDawn Sports with Kingsley Ovieson. Stay with us.